This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Do you play FanDuel and feel like you aren't creating consistent money-making lineups? Go over to the DFS Doctors on Twitter at the DFS Doctors and DM them with promo code Detroit Sports to get a free trial for their analytically formulated 70% lifetime profit rate NFL and NBA lineups. The whole purpose of playing daily fantasy sports is to get out there and compete and give yourself a chance to win. So go over to the DFS Doctors. Let them help you. They have analysts on staff that look at the best optimal lineup that you can put out there to win money. So why not take advantage? At the DFS Doctors, promo code Detroit Sports.
CBD is a game changer sweeping the nation. This hemp extract is the natural way to elevate your mood, eliminate aches and pains, reduce anxiety, and keep you sleeping all night long. It can even cut your workout recovery time in half. Get in the game today with 20% off all orders of CBD and lavender products from Lavender Lane, a lavender farm located right here in Milan, Michigan. Just go to lavenderlanemi.com today and enter coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order. Guys, look, these amazing products are infused with calming lavender to maximize their effectiveness, meaning your CBD items only take minutes to take effect, which is way quicker than those pills you were about to swallow. On top of it, they are perfect for men and women. Lavender Lane has lab-tested CBD creams, tinctures, and roll-ons that are perfect for any situation, even if you're on the go. Put your health back in your hands by heading over to lavenderlanemi.com and entering coupon code Detroit for 20% off your entire order of CBD and lavender products. What do you have to lose? Your satisfaction is guaranteed or your money back. So if you need lavender gifts for your loved ones or just looking for the natural way to ease your discomfort with CBD, go to lavenderlanemi.com and use coupon code Detroit to unlock these miraculous benefits of CBD and lavender. That's lavenderlanemi.com. And remember, use coupon code DETROIT for 20% off your CBD and lavender products from Michigan's own Lavender Lane.
Is there a sports podcast in Detroit that people are talking about?
Hey, everybody, this is Freddie Cohen of ESPN Radio. When I'm not talking about breaking news or breaking news on ESPN Radio, I'm always a fan and listen to the Detroit Sports Podcast, and so should you.
Welcome into the latest edition of the DocNJock podcast. I am the Doc, John Macaroon. Joining me, my cousin Adam, the Jock Strozinski. The funny part about this project, cuz, you know, everyone that's followed along has known that we called this the DSP virus. Mm-hmm. Well, now there's an actual virus that's threatening to shut down all of sports. Each and every day, you're hearing basketball conferences canceling their tournaments. You're hearing, overseas, the soccer in Italy shut down. Champions League games will take place in front of no fans, and it's starting to migrate here. The coronavirus is fucking everything up in the world of sports. We're going to talk about that in the second half of the podcast, but this has been crazy in terms of the way in which this illness has spread through the United States and the world, and it really has affected sports.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts right now. You mentioned Serie A. That's the Italian Premier Soccer League that they have. They've completely shut down and suspended all games until mid-April. You've got the San Jose Sharks essentially playing a game in front of nobody. The only people who are going to be permitted into the arena, or the other day were permitted into the arena, were basically the staffs. So like just important personnel. That's it. So it's like having a scrimmage, which I think if I was an athlete, I think that would be fun. It'd be something different, right? Like imagine you play games all the time in front of sold out crowds, raving fans, people pounding on the glass and taunting you and screaming your name. How cool would it be to go play a game, just you and a bunch of other guys that you play against, with officials and basically your team? It'd be like the most organized scrimmage you've ever played. And there's something a little bit different about playing a super organized scrimmage than playing a game. So I think it would be fun. I think it would be different. But all that being said, it's absolutely nuts what the coronavirus is doing right now and how it is shutting down everything. I mean, there are concerts that are getting postponed. There are sporting events like you had mentioned. Schools are suspending, like universities are suspending classes, and everything is just going to go online. It's nuts. I was at work the other day, and I got pulled into a meeting where we had to have an hour-long conference call with our corporate office going over, do's, don'ts, what our chemicals actually do kill, what they don't kill, what's permitted on site, what's not. It was nuts. And all this because of the coronavirus. I mean, I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, I guess we'll expound more on our opinions later in the show, but it's nuts to me.
Man. And in terms of coverage, I'm getting, emails saying that potentially Sports Illustrated might not actually send any reporters to the regionals.
Really?
Yeah, because of the fact that, locker rooms could be closed, the access could be restricted. So it's being restricted. And so national coverage of these big events, as I'm hearing, it sounds crazy. It's going to alter coverage. I mean, right now, in terms of baseball and basketball, you can't go into the locker rooms.
Yeah, hockey's the same way.
It's messed up. And to transition here to one of the first things I want to bring up before we talk about the Lions, and we'll go more in depth in regards to the coronavirus in the second half of the podcast. But in terms of the gambling now, the casinos have opened up in Detroit. My first thought would be, yeah, go down there, make a bet, be around all the people. Now you think and you go, maybe now is not the right time to go down and be around all these crowds.
Yeah.
And you realize, wow, gambling March 11th, Wednesday, is now open in the state of Michigan, and it's wild.
Yeah, and it's like you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you might get infected, right? So, like, do you go? Do you not go? I don't know. This is how I look at it, right? And I really wanted to save most of this for the second half of the show, but I'm not going to let this prevent me from doing things I want to do. I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to live my life. So if I want to go make a bet, I'm going to go make a bet. But you're absolutely right. People should take precaution. Let's say that much. Take precaution, protect yourself. And be smart about it. Just don't be dumb. Be smart. It's weird because on Tuesday night, the state of Michigan was announced with its very first case of the coronavirus very late in the evening, and it's weird being one of the states that are now affected because you have a process when all this kind of goes on where it's going to essentially double. That it's going to multiply. People are going to infect other people. It's just what happens. Hopefully, you're not one of them. And if you are one of them, hopefully you have a strong enough immune system where you can fight it off. But you're going to have this doubling process that's coming up. So be on alert that you're going to start seeing it go from basically 1 to 2 people to 5 to 10 people to 100 people to 200 people to 1,000 people to 2,000 people and so on. So it's like AIDS in the 80s, bro. Everybody's getting it.
It's crazy, man. It's crazy that in 2020, we're not talking about technological advances. We're talking about hand washing, preventing this kind of flu-like symptom. And for me, listen, I'm living my life. I'm not scared. And but I'm not going to the only thing I'm going to do is not be around big crowds for a minute just to see how this goes. But I'm excited. The gambling is going to take place, and MGM obviously set up in October, and finally now people are going to make their bets. Are you going to be active going down there? I was wrong. I misread something because I texted you and said that you can't bet on college, but you can. It's certain types of bets in college that won't happen, like props and certain freaky bets. Like you can't bet on soccer. It's not full service. You can't just go and bet right there in the middle of games and stuff like that. There are certain things you can't bet on. So go down there, go down to MGM and check it all out, and you can report back to us and let us know what will be some of the bets. So I think that what this is going to look like in terms of, hey, if you're making big bets, let us know. That's something cool to see. I love seeing Dan Ravel's when he posts the big ticket bets that you can see out there in Vegas and all over. So if you're making a big ticket bet, tweet at Detroit Podcast. I want to see it. Share the wealth. If you're a good gambler, let us know. It'll be a fun atmosphere, I think, to go down there and hang out and make a bet. But please, obviously as a psychologist, you just don't do it if you can't afford to make the bet. Don't, mortgage your future. Don't be one of those people that's just a degenerate and just betting nonstop at, borrowing from your cousin to pay off a gambling bet. So I just don't think that that's something we want to see. It's going to happen, so it could be actually beneficial to my other business, but I just hope that people's lives don't get ruined because you're starting to see some of the results of the casinos in Detroit where you see a lot of people that are degenerates and wasting away. It's real. Yeah. You see people wasting away college funds and houses, and you hear the stories and you're like, really? Look, $50, have a good night, cost of entertainment, 50 to win 80, call it a night. Don't be trying to be a professional. There's only 1% of professional gamblers that make money sports betting. And we'll talk about that. And I think in the coming weeks, I do want to ask you, there's actually now a big name guy that's actually, selling his picks online, and he's making a killing doing it. He's a consultant, and he's taking advantage of the market. I want to get your sense of, do you think that buying picks is worth it in this day and age? Because he's out there and he's marketing heavy. And of course, I don't know it through him. I know it through his now famous girlfriend. So we'll share that story because Holly Saunders is killing it, and she's globbed onto this guy. And
Globbed on.
Oh yeah! All of a sudden, she goes from one guy, now she's with this guy, and they're in love. They're actually getting married. So
Good for MSU grab Holly Saunders.
Holly Saunders. So she's doing her thing. So I'll look at it like this: gambling is great, and I think that in a society you should be able to do all the kind of different type of things within reason, within moderation. Just don't think that you're going to beat the casino. They're making money. They're getting their vig, as we say.
Yeah, for sure. You're not going to roll up to the window and you're going to end up cashing out for billions. It just doesn't work like that. Like you said, 1% have that happen to them. If you're spending your fortune and you're looking for your cousin to help bail you out, you're looking at the wrong cousin, brother, just so you know.
Gotcha. Oh, man. All right, let's look to the Detroit Lions. All right, they're making some news now. 1 week away, cuz, from free agency, and I can't wait to kind of pay attention to who the Lions are going to target. How much are they going to spend? How are they going to allocate their funds? I know that the compensatory picks has riled some people up in that the Lions just don't ever get them. They don't get extra picks. The last one that they got, they used on, I believe, Graham Glasgow. So I think it's a funny, hilarious way of looking at how the Detroit Lions do business. But let's start with the basic news, the meat and potatoes. They finalized the coaching staff earlier this week, and I think it was Monday. And I looked back at it and I said, okay, covering the Lions, let's look at what has happened here in regards to the Detroit Lions and their coaching staff. Obviously, after a 3-win year, it's a bad situation. Martha Ford comes out and she's like, all right, change your coaches. You can't have the same crew. So Matt Patricia is now tasked with, okay, firing and letting go of some substandard coaching, and he has to go out and get people. Does he get the big-name coach? Does he get the Bum Phillips? Does he get Wade Phillips here? No. Does he get the big-name coordinator from college? No. He's not paying coordinators millions of dollars. So what you start to see when the news was released was, whoa, these are a bunch of assistants that have never actually done the job that they're in currently. Only Tyrone McKenzie has been a linebackers coach before. Everyone else has been promoted from a lower-level assistant to the job that they're in. Okay? Only Tyrone McKenzie has the experience of the new hires in the job that he's hired to do. So that's a fact, okay? So that obviously leads us to question going, whoa. Looking top to bottom, from Matt Patricia down, bro, you can make an argument the Lions coaching staff blows. That coaching staff doesn't instill confidence outside of maybe you could say they understand the system. They understand what Patricia's going to be wanting, but Braden Coombs doesn't light the world on fire. He's someone that has respect. Undland, Philly's secondary was trash.
Garbage.
And you look at it top to bottom and you go, yeesh, do the Lions potentially, and it's not hyperbole, we are not exaggerating. I think my first reaction when I heard the news of the hirings was, I think the Lions have, top to bottom, the worst coaching staff in the National Football League.
I don't think you're too far off. So 12 of 22 positions have been replaced this year going into next season. And the one thing that was really alarming for me is majority of these guys, Matt Patricia coached in New England.
Right.
If that doesn't scream of nepotism, I don't know what does. Basically, he has a relationship with these guys. He's going to bring them in. When you're a good leader, right, you can handle other members on your staff either challenging you or critiquing you or presenting some information to you that makes you stop and think, right? That's the whole point of having multiple people on your staff. Matt Patricia has guys that he essentially has coached before, so they look at him like he's a coach, or, like you said, have been promoted from a lower level to this current position. So this is a bunch of guys who I don't think will ever challenge Matt Patricia. So if Patricia's putting together a game plan, I think they're just going to their default mode is going to be like, yeah, okay, cool. Whatever you want, coach. Sure thing, coach. That's what you want, coach. We'll put that in, coach. Great. No problem. Instead of saying, wait, hey, Matt, hold up. This team loves to stack the box when it's 3rd and 3. Maybe we should look at a slot pattern to the tight end, or maybe maybe we can get some type of a drag route that could open things up. Or when Patricia's putting together the defensive game plan, saying, all right, so here, this is what we're going to do. We're going to play zone here. Instead of saying, no, we're going to switch it up. We're going to go man. We should be running man here, Matt, because these guys like to do X, Y, and Z. I just don't see anybody on this staff having the ability to challenge Matt Patricia, which scares me because his defense was absolute garbage last year. You know, it was one of the worst in the league. And if you don't have anybody who's either A, done it before, or B, has the cojones to challenge the head coach and say, hey, we should probably look at doing something a little bit different, I think you're going to get more of the same result. And obviously last year it didn't really work. I mean, Pasquale was in a position where he essentially defaulted to Matt Patricia, right? To me, it seems like it's a lot of the same guys doing the same exact thing. You're just kind of here holding a place. Matt Patricia's going to tell you what to do, and then you just try to make sure it gets executed. And then when it doesn't get executed, you'll be fired. I mean, that's what I see when I see this coaching staff. There's nobody besides Bevel who really makes me feel confident that anybody on this coaching staff can get anything done. And that's because for 8 games, actually it was like 7.5 games, Darren Bevel turned Matt Stafford turned him into an efficient quarterback that looked like they could actually win some games. And it was that defense that let them down time in and time out. And when you blow out half of the defensive coaching staff and you bring in new guys who don't look like they're going to help you get any better, I just don't understand it. It's confusing to me. They might actually be the worst coaching staff.
I just don't see it because we're talking miracles here, bro. Everyone gelling together, coaching staff, free agency, the draft. You got to go through with all these new coaches, and in 6 months, you got to be a playoff team. How the hell is that going to be possible? Because of the fact that we haven't seen it. You know, it would really be a miraculous situation for the Detroit Lions to all gel together, stay healthy, all the new coaches, all the new talent to come in here and gel to get this team into playoff contention, because something has to be amiss. Something has to go astray. Something will be wrong. And I don't know if the Lions can weather it because of the fact that the simple nature of the NFL is you're going to lose talented individuals.
Yep.
And you're hearing rumblings and rumors that Darius Slay is gone, that they're not going to try and have a potential of him holding out. So you're not going to see him potentially play under his deal, which I still think is the best decision, is you make him play under the deal that he has. So you're thinking probably, you're probably going to take a negative hit PR-wise by trading him for a 3rd or 4th rounder.
Dude, if that's all you get for him,
I don't think you get a second because he's 29 and wants $15 million. How are you going to get that much? Yeah, so I don't see it. I mean, unless the team is desperate, but I think that right now the entire league has the leverage on the Lions because they know that, okay, we'll just wait it out and then we'll hit you with a 3rd rounder. So that's just how I see it because of the fact that in this position, the Lions don't have the leverage. And then you hear the news that broke out on Tuesday that Graham Glasgow is most likely now 99% gone. That he had a chance to have a conversation, a phone interview with the Free Press, and he comes out and says that the Lions have not talked to him, and they continue the trend of not talking to him all season. They didn't work out a deal during the season, and up until this point, nobody from the Lions has really come out and said why that they're going to probably move on. So he's like, okay, my agent, my reps haven't heard nothing. Nobody's talked to me. So you would think that if he was somebody that was going to be retained, he would kind of be one of the first 2 people that Quinn would be contacting. So they're doing this kind of like, thank you, but no thank. They're actually ghosting Graham Glasgow, which is so weird because in my SI video, I said that, fine, you don't have to retain him. I understand the reasoning. You don't want to pay this guy $8 million to $10 million because you think you can get somewhat sort of comparable production out of a guy like Kenny Wiggins. That's why they rotated him. So you don't want to pay that position. That's not a position that Bob Quinn views to be premium. I get it. You don't tell him. You don't just say, thank you for the time that you've put in. Thank you for the work that you did. We're going to go in a different direction. It's like a sentence. It takes 5 seconds. You can even shoot him a text if you want to be bogus about it. Be like, thank you for your time. We're going in a different direction. Text his agent. Nothing. He's like, I don't even know. He told the Free Press, I don't know what the reason is. I'm not back, and I'm bummed out about it. That's not the way you instill, a relationship with players. If you're like, okay, that kind of feeds the narrative that has been coming out in the last couple of years that Bob Quinn is ultra professional and sometimes way too businesslike and cold sometimes. I mean, there's a certain way to operate that yes, everyone understands that players are going to come and go, and some will get cut, and some will be let go as a result of what we call a cap casualty. Everyone understands it, but you should at least tell the guy why. Like, hey, we felt like this position is worth this much. If you want to stay, you got to take $5 million. And he's like, no. Boom. Now you come out and say, we offered him a contract that we felt was fair, and he turned it down. Instead, the Lions, again, look like the punching bag because he's coming out to the papers and saying, I don't know what the reason is, and I'm bummed out about it. And that goes, obviously, to all the sites, and everyone wrote about it, and everyone's like, why would you go about even letting him go in the first place? We can even have that debate. But first and foremost, how big of a mistake has it been in terms of this situation, in terms of how Bob Quinn handled it? It sounds all bogus, doesn't it?
It blows
unprofessional.
It just blows my mind.
No contact?
That you would do that. That you as the general manager, you have the head of an organization, you go out and you, honestly, he might have been one of Bob Quinn's best draft picks. Because it wasn't just the fact that he was good at his position. It was the fact that he was good and versatile. This is a guy who could slide over and play center for you. This was a guy who could slide over and play guard for you. And it wasn't like he was a bum. It wasn't like he was the worst guy on the line. This was a guy that you could legitimately build around if you wanted to shore up that offensive line. You know that offensive line that Bob Quinn's been retooling ever since he's gotten to Detroit? Yeah, that offensive line. This was a guy who was a stabilizing piece on it, and he was a third-round pick. Probably one of your best draft picks that you've had. At least a top 5 draft pick that you've had. And you're going to let him go, and you're not even going to give him the courtesy of a phone call? What kind of crumb bum organization are you? What kind of low-level, low-life general manager does that with a guy who has basically sacrificed the last couple years of his life here and who wants to stay here, wants to be here? And it's, look, there's a reason that good offensive linemen don't ever hit the market. You know? You can go back to Ricky Wagner. You remember when Ricky Wagner hit the market and we were all like, why is Baltimore giving up on Ricky Wagner? He was a pretty good offensive lineman. There's a reason why good offensive linemen don't ever hit the market. It's because their teams are smart enough to sign them and keep them. There's a reason Ricky Wagner was available. There's a reason why you got him. There's a reason why he really hasn't worked out here. Because he was at the end of his rope. He wasn't any good. And then you compound it with Detroit has a ton of cap space. Detroit has a ton of cap space this year. You can totally sign this guy. Even if it's patchwork, right? Because I don't know what you're going to do. I have no idea what you're going to do this year for that offensive line. I don't know if there's a guy out there during free agency that you're going to go grab. I don't know if you're going to grab a guy during the draft. My thought process is you need all the draft picks you can get. This is a position that is of need. Your offensive line, for the most part, has struggled since Bob Quinn has been here. There have been moments where it has looked really, really good. There have been moments where it has essentially gotten Matt Stafford killed. Matt Stafford, your quarterback, dealing with 2 back-to-back broken backs. Put that on your offensive line. Put that on those guys who are supposed to stop dudes from coming in and crushing him. Whereas Frank Ragnow and Graham Glasgow have essentially been your stalwarts on that offensive line, and you're going to let this guy walk. And it's not like Graham Glasgow came in, they're like, hey, you're just going to be our guard. No. It was, hey, you're going to be our center. You're going to be our guard. Now you're going to be our center again. And you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to rotate you and Frank, and we're going to see which one of you guys want to play center or guard better or more or whatever it is because, I don't know, versatility. It's the name of the game. Makes no sense to me. But you've got money, so why not sign this guy? Give him a little chunk of change. Sign him to a 3 or 4 year deal. Who the hell cares? You said it was what, like $8 million is what he's looking for? Maybe 10. Whatever. He's an offensive lineman. He's a guy who can play multiple positions on your offensive line. Pay him the money. Save the draft pick. Go get yourself something else that you need. I mean, we sat down a couple weeks ago and we estimated they need at least 15 different positions that have to get filled.
Right, bro. 15. If that.
You only have, 6 or 7 draft picks this year. What are you doing? It makes absolutely no sense to me. The way this organization runs blows my mind. Bob Quinn and his time at the helm just comes off as so callous sometimes. And it's not even the way that he conducts business. It's part of it, but it's not even so much that, right? It's just he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. And usually he ends up leaving with egg on his face.
And also now, too, it's like he operates not thinking that these players talk.
Yeah.
Further in the article, he says they run a pretty tight-lipped ship over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no shit. We all know that. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be. It's simple courtesy of, okay, we're moving on. It really is a sentence. It's really fascinating because of the fact that why operate that way when you could potentially spread a different message throughout the league? Because what have the Lions been fighting? And yeah, we understand that they can attract free agents if they overpay. They'll come here, but you don't think that a guy like Graham Glasgow is going to go and tell everybody, they operate a little funny. They got to be professional in the room in the time that they're working there, but everybody knows what's going on. It's not secret. What are you being tight-lipped about? This is not like the CIA. It's about, do you want the player or not? And
like, bro, you're not saving lives. You're running a football organization. Come on.
Exactly. And the notion that it's like, oh, top secret, that we're not going to keep it, it's pretty straightforward. People pretty much, there's like 12 reporters. They all have brains.
Yeah.
You didn't talk to them once through the year. So it wasn't like this is all news. Everyone wrote twice that, okay, it doesn't appear that Graham Glasgow is going to be back. When we go, okay, has the team reached out to you? No. Do you know what's going on? No. Okay. I'm just going to be gone.
So you're gone.
So how does that make him feel throughout the year? And he still produced because he knew that he's professional, but I just don't think that that's the best way to operate. You just let someone know and you handle your business. And it lends to the argument, though, and you discussed it briefly. Is it the wrong move to let him go? Because I just think that is the right move. It's correct.
You think it's the right move to let him go?
It's the right move because when you look at the PFF ratings and kind of similar, the platoon that they executed with Wiggins kind of produced the same results. You definitely probably can get better if they want to go and look at maybe the New England free agent and Tunney and bringing him in and through the draft.
Dude, aren't you tired of New England guys, though? I'm tired.
He's productive, though. He's rated higher.
I'm tired of getting New England guys who have spent time in that system, ran into the ground, and now they're going to come over here and not perform.
But you look at it in terms of the value of the contract. They're not going to pay $8 million. That's just the straightforward thing. They think that they can get similar productivity based on the numbers with a platoon. And that's fine, but you also can say, and you can make the argument that the running game wasn't all that great. Stafford basically got killed, and the offensive line isn't going to get a lot better without Glasgow.
But hold on. So the run game was basically a patchwork of Bo Scarborough, who you brought in off the trash heap, Ty Johnson, who was brought in here as a rookie, and you're like, cool, let's see what you have. And then you've got Kerryon Johnson, who can't stay healthy to save his life. So, I mean, what did you want from that run game? And if you ask me, that run game was decent. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. It was somewhere in the middle of the league. And I think that was a lot of scheme. I think that was a lot of drawing it up by Darren Bevel. Matt Stafford getting killed, I don't think that's on Graham Glasgow. I think that's on your left tackle. I'm just saying. Taylor Decker hasn't been very good. And Taylor Decker is a guy who, if you're going to move on from somebody, probably be him. Probably be him if it was up to me. Because he hasn't been very good. He's not been healthy. And when he has been healthy, he's essentially, half the time he's a turnstile. Guys just blow right by him and then annihilate Matt Stafford. I don't think that's on Graham Glasgow. Graham Glasgow is basically a brain trust of that offensive line. Hey, this is what scheme that they're throwing to us and they're presenting to us. We need to, as a unit, we need to coordinate and we need to kind of change. Him and Frank Ragnow are sitting there talking to each other the entire time, pointing stuff out and basically audibling how the offensive line has to stunt. To me, Glasgow and Ragnow are not the issue with this offensive line. I would have no problem paying this guy the money. I get what you're saying, all right? But what are you going to do? You're going to invest another draft pick? You're going to go spend some money on another free agent? Why not just have a guy who's already been here, who's performed for you? To me, it just doesn't make sense. I get what you're saying, that they could run a platoon, but why? Why do that? The way things are done with this organization absolutely irritate me. It's like nothing I've ever seen. Everybody in this damn organization thinks they're the smartest guys in the room. They think that they have the upper hand on doing everything. And in the end, it just turns around to bite you in the ass. And you just look stupid. And I think this is going to be one of those moves that this organization is going to look back on, and they're going to look stupid. You end up just giving away decent caliber NFL players who go on to other places and they star or they're productive for other teams. They could totally be productive here, but you're just too bullheaded and too pigheaded to do anything with them. Drives me nuts.
Yeah, it's just all the way around. We just don't understand roster construction because nobody understands how you get better removing Slay and Glasgow off your team. But free agency is going to hit, and next week's podcast will be fun because it'll be going down that day. All the rumors, all the speculation, we'll be breaking it all down and discussing who we think the Lions should get and who they're going to overpay for because they're going to offer big money. They got it to spend. It's going to be on defense, and I just can't wait to see how this is going to shake out because it's going to be a big free agency period. But in terms of the other fascinating look at the Lions, and that's the draft. Many more people are mocking Jeff Okudah to the Lions, and more are kind of sprinkling in trades, maybe with the Raiders, Chargers, and the Dolphins. But you found an interesting mock draft with not only one, but I think multiple trades for the Detroit Lions through CBS Sports. Hit me up.
Multiple first-round trades, nonetheless.
Oh, so up and down.
Up and down.
Kind of taking the cue from the Doc, who put out Bro, I'm going to tell you, okay, and a little behind-the-scene curtain here. So I put out a mock draft, and I'm like, okay, what's the model of how I'm going to do this? Well, like the podcast. Whatever comes to my head, I'm going to spew it. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, the Lions have one first-round pick. Why don't they get two? Everyone wants to debate Simmons and Young. Well, why can't they get both? So I'm like, all right, this is either going to sink the ship or this is going to be awesome. Let's tweet it out. Let's write this thing. Lions make blockbuster trade, and they acquire Young and Simmons. And it's starting to get some reads, and all of a sudden, boom, it blew up. Over six-figure reads, bro.
Yeah.
Over six figures.
I didn't have a chance to read it. Did you have a chance to, did you trade basically the entire back half of your draft, your second round?
Oh, how did I operate that? I forgot how I executed this plan.
What was the value that you had to give up to Washington to get basically pick number 2?
No. I think I made the miracle where someone gave up capital to trade with Washington to take Tua. Miami traded Young Falls. It's the dream scenario. Young Falls, and we had to trade. First, I think 2 first-round picks in the coming drafts to get them. Yeah, okay. Bro. So I did some fantasy scenario. It was good. People loved it. Biggest article I ever wrote, and mock drafts are killing it. I love mock drafts.
Mock drafts are fun,
and I love Darius Slay.
And I love Darius Slay. When you see Darius Slay in the locker room, you just need to let I love
Thank you.
I love
exactly.
you. Just so you know, I love you.
Yep. So if you just type in blockbuster mock draft, my article comes up first. Not with the Lions, just blockbuster mock draft.
Blockbuster mock draft.
Exactly. So here's who we trade with. Detroit sends 2021 round 1, 2022 round 1, and 2021 round 3 to the Panthers for the right to trade down, for the right to take their pick and select Isaiah Simmons. So I went monster blockbuster scenario, and that one hit. That was good. So everyone's like, yeah, that would be awesome. But a lot of people actually said they didn't pan it. They said, we agree with your idea, but we want Okudah and Young.
I don't understand why everybody loves Okudah so
because
much.
they just think they're talking to him like he's going to be a legendary corner.
I just don't get
height.
it.
He's got the ability to cover man. He's got all the intangibles.
Is it his swagger? Because he's a guy who's a little bit. I wouldn't say he's cocky. He's just really sure of himself, which is nice.
They think he can do the job. And obviously, if you're going to trade Slay, you got to have a replacement. So but the problem is win now mode does not dictate Okudah. And not number 3. 5 down, maybe. But in this mock draft you found through CBS Sports,
yes.
Give me the details.
So Joe Burrow goes number 1 to Cincinnati. Chase Young goes number 2 to Washington. Miami trades with Detroit. So Miami's drafting 3rd, take Tua. New York takes Tristan Wirfs, the offensive lineman, at 4. So now Detroit is on the board at 5, and they select Jeffrey Okudah. So in the trade details, all the reports on Tua appear to be positive so far, but there's no way of knowing what's going on behind the scenes. Here the Dolphins are satisfied with his health, in part with number 39 to move up 2 spots. So basically, the Dolphins give Detroit their 39th pick in the draft, which would be, would that be 7th in the second round? So you'd get so in the second round, you would have the 3rd overall, and then you would have the 7th, I believe, overall in the second round. So you get a couple extra picks in that second round, which are nice. But Detroit takes Jeff Okudah. It says the Lions move down 2 spots, pick up the number 39 overall pick, and still land a guy many expect them to take at number 3. Okudah can come in and immediately stabilize a secondary in flux. I don't know about that because that was kind of the writing about Darius Slay, and he took a year. So Jordan Love goes at pick 6 to the Chargers. Now, at pick 7, some interesting stuff happens. We have a trade. The Carolina Panthers trade with the Raiders. They pick up Isaiah Simmons. Justin Herbert, there's a trade with the Arizona Cardinals between the Indianapolis Colts. Justin Herbert goes at pick 8. So now we have 4 quarterbacks gone in the top 8 picks, which is absolutely bonkers to me. Derek Brown goes. He's a guy who you've been high on. He goes at pick 9 to the Jags. Kind of scrolling through here, Clavon Chason, the edge rusher. There's a trade between the Raiders and the Panthers again. So this is where the Panthers and the Raiders flip-flopped. So the Panthers take the edge rusher there. Javion Kinlaw. This is the trade with Arizona and Indianapolis. So the Cardinals take Javion Kinlaw. CeeDee Lamb goes to Philadelphia with pick 14. There's a trade between them and the Buccaneers. Henry Ruggs III, another guy who you're really high on, goes at 15. Jerry Jeudy goes at 16 to Washington. There's another trade here between Atlanta and the Bills. So now as we kind of scroll through here and we make our way to the bottom of this draft, something interesting happens. All right. So Jonathan Taylor ends up going at pick 26 from the Houston Texans. So this was a trade that was made, I believe it was last year. So Miami ends up taking Jonathan Taylor, a guy who I'm really high on, late in the first round. AJ Espinosa is gone at pick 27. That's a trade between Denver and Seattle. So the Seahawks end up trading with Denver. Denver takes Espinosa. Now, as we get our way to the very, very bottom of this draft, the San Francisco 49ers hold pick number 31, and your Detroit Lions now move up to pick number 31 in the first round. So they take 2 first-round picks, and it says, with the potential fits for Blacklock ahead of them, the Lions sacrifice the number 106th pick to move up 4 spots and take a talented defensive tackle after passing on Derek Brown earlier. The 49ers should be a prime trade-down candidate with their lack of picks. So basically, the 49ers need to acquire more picks. They trade with the Lions, who give up 106 is, I believe, a 4th-round pick, if I'm correct in my math. And they pick up Ross Blacklock, D lineman out of TCU. He is apparently the 4th best positional defensive line pick. What do you think? So you strengthen your D line.
You're aggressive a little bit.
Yeah, you strengthen your D line, and you've strengthened your cornerback position.
See, I'm all for being aggressive, obviously, in terms of the mock drafts, but I want to be aggressive for a different position. I think you can take, maybe if you want to handle it in a different way, if you want to be aggressive, potentially speaking, the dream scenario obviously is if Chase Young falls, but it's not likely. So you trade back to 5, you take Derek Brown. Okay, you handle your business there. You trade up to get the running back. I think the position that potentially could take you to where you need to go faster is the explosive running back. Yep. May it be DeAndre Swift or Jonathan Taylor, J.K. Dobbins. I think you have to get the running back.
I'm glad you bring that up, because as I scroll through this again, because I was thinking, so we know Jonathan Taylor's off the board, right? I believe he's the first running back to go in this draft. So that means DeAndre Swift is still available. You now have 2 picks in the second round. You'll be drafting 3rd in the second round, and you'll be drafting, I believe, 7th in the second round after this trade in this scenario. So you could get your running back, possibly if he's still there, with your 3rd pick in the second round, and then you could come back with your 7th pick in the second round and either take your wide receiver that you'll need, or you could take your offensive lineman that you might need, or you could take your edge rusher if there's somebody there. So there's still a lot of talented guys left in this draft, and you'll have 2 picks basically in the top 10 of the second round to pick from. So would you take a running back then with your basically your 3rd pick?
I could handle that. I like the idea as well of potentially, going defense if you really want to handle it. Potentially you got to shore up a linebacker. Potentially you got to shore up another cornerback. So you could take one of the LSU cornerbacks. I look at it and I say, either way, I don't see a scenario in which I don't think Bob Quinn's going to address the offense early on in this draft, because the wide receiver position has depth. You can go later. I think that free agency probably might be the spot where you're hearing a lot of rumblings that the Lions are interested in pursuing Kenyon Drake again. So they can maybe look at it through free agency. And people wonder, okay, draft free agency. Bob Quinn likes running backs from the free agent market. That's just the way it's been, right? Obviously, he took Kerryon Johnson high up in a draft, and he selected him, but I don't think that he's going to continue to pursue that. So I look at those picks, and what they should do is definitely look for the home run definitely what they should do is look for the home run running back. But I think what they're going to do is they're going to look to upgrade the defensive line, upgrade the secondary, upgrade at linebacker in those first 3 or 4 picks. And potentially, look, if you're thinking that Bob Quinn's going to follow our game plan, look, I've seen mock drafts that have Tristan Wirfs going 4th to the Giants. There's a small outside chance, and I wrote about it. Nobody else is because they think it's crazy. But if you're someone that follows the Lions, crazy's on the table. You and I have watched 6 drafts in the history of this podcast, and they've taken tight ends twice, I believe, in that time. They have. So crazy's on the table.
What a horrible time to be a Detroit Lions fan.
I'm putting it out there. Fear. There's a chance. Number 3, Lions take Tristan Wirfs. There's a chance they walk up there and take an offensive lineman with that 3rd pick. And everyone panned it. It's crazy.
Same by
it's on the
Graham
table.
Glasgow now opens up that spot.
It's on the table. So don't be locked into this Okudah notion and things like that. So
I just find it crazy that everybody's in love with Jeffrey Okudah.
yeah, well, because
I think he's good.
He's
but
measurable. He's measurable.
I get it. He's good, but he's a cornerback. This is a league where the NFL and the referees have emphasized the pass so much, right?
Yes.
And they have mitigated what a cornerback brings to the table. How many pass interference calls do you see happening throughout an entire football game? It's absolutely crazy.
It's a position that's been minimalized.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's been
You can't breathe on a receiver.
Right. It's been totally mitigated. So why would you invest
Number 3.
the number 3 pick
With Okudah, a guy's going to take 2 years to develop minimally.
Right. This is a pick that you have to get somebody who's going to come in and make an immediate impact and be a guy who can give you at least 5 to 7 years of impactful play.
I think Derek Brown has to be the name. Derek Brown, trade down, and secure more picks.
Just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I like that mock draft. The mock drafts actually are good now in terms of how you can do them. You can do 3-rounders. You can do analysis of others' mock drafts, and then you can do the complete mock draft, which is good because the Detroit Lions, they do not this year have a 7th-round pick. I believe they have extra, if my mind is correct in what I read, I think they have an extra 5th-rounder this year. So they have, I think, 6 picks overall. That's where we stand currently, I believe. And the Lions are going to be out there trying. I think they're going to secure 1 or 2 more. I think this is the year to do it. I don't think they pick at number 3. I think that Miami has to move up with the Lions and secure them 1 more pick either in this year's draft or next year's. I love the mock drafts. I love the free agent. I think this year's been more fun than any because we're paying way more close attention instead of broadly like we've had in years past. We are really on it. Every free agent, every draft pick, every move that could be made has been awesome to pay attention to. It's just tough to be optimistic, really. It is because you look at it, you've talked about it on podcasts that Bob Quinn, he's got to hit a home run. I mean, he's got to hit, and actually, cuz to be straightforward, he's got to hit a grand slam. You can't whiff on 3. You can't do what you've been doing, which is okay. We got 6, 7 picks. We hit on 3 of them. You got to hit on 5 of them. Yeah. You got to hit on 5 guys this year to produce. And we said that last year. I remember listening to it. You got to hit on more. They got to hit home runs with almost everybody because you're going to lose a lot of talent. And just to weather the storm, I don't know, man. It's going to be tough. It's just an unbelievable. And look, Bob Quinn's job is tough, but that's his job. His job is to make the tough decisions and make it happen. So it's just one of those things where, Bob Quinn, do your job, handle your business, and at least treat the players a little bit nicer. All right, second half of the podcast, we got to talk about it. Everyone in the world of sports is talking about it. We're going to give it a quick 10, 12 minutes in a segment. We got to talk about coronavirus. How's it affecting you? Let us know. Message us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast. Are you not going out? Are you not going to the casinos? Are you wearing the masks? Look, Adam and I, we're known to understand viruses of all different kinds. So we'll talk all about it next on this edition of Doc and Jock.
Nothing a little penicillin can't cure.
The reason why Adam and I can have fun every single week and record multiple broadcasts, the reason why people tweet us, hey, nominate these guys for awards, they're bringing it every single week. The reason why we've built a network from my basement to the heights of working with Sports Illustrated and Maven Sports is because of the fact that we have great sponsors and great listeners. The 2 great sponsors of this week's episode are the Motor City Pawnbrokers and the Flick Chat application. The Motor City Pawnbrokers are the one-stop pawn shop when you're looking for quality, brand name new, and pre-owned merchandise. With locations in Detroit, Roseville, Ferndale, and Warren, their mission is to deliver exceptional value. For all information regarding the deals, if you're not familiar with the pawn process, go online today and visit MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. That's MotorCityPawnbrokers.com. If you've agreed or disagreed with anything that we've said, on this broadcast or anything that we've written or put out there via the internet, feel free. Download the Flick Chat application and get in the mix. Let's have some debates. What's Flick, you ask? Via your mobile device, you can create forums. It's a simple way to chat via your cell phone, and it's real fun. It's real easy. You can create your own forum. You're in charge of your own room, and you can debate Detroit sports. You can listen to your favorite podcast. It's a real interactive platform that's just super easy. All you got to do is go to the Google Play Store or your favorite app store. If you have an iPhone, you go to the App Store and download Flick Chat. And within moments, you are in the group. All you got to do is hit that little plus sign, enter in all lowercase DSP, that's DSP, and you're in. And then right then and there, you can create a topic, and Adam and I and all the crew, all the listeners, we get in on the debates and have fun talking Detroit sports. That's what it's all about. Flick Chat is an interactive mobile platform to talk and debate all about podcasts, all about sports, and we enjoy it every single day. Flick Chat, a great sponsor of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
So real quick, before we get into the coronavirus, a little breaking crossover news. So we do two podcasts, you and I. We do a wrestling one that you can hear right here on this network every Friday, the DocNJock Wrestling Podcast, as well as this one that you're listening to, the DocNJock Show. But crossover news that basically touches both of our podcasts that we do. Rob Gronkowski, the Gronk, will be attending WrestleMania 36.
What?
And will be an appearance he has signed with WWE.
Inked. Wow, bro. We talked about it a little bit in the news segment of the wrestling podcast, and there maybe was some tease that maybe he could appear on this Friday SmackDown. I'm not going to this one, busy week, and so I can't believe they're going to tease his appearance and they're going to really market it and bring him on. Mm-hmm. He's been in the ring, and look, I think the one that made me laugh was Chuck Liddell was interested in WWE. Bro, they got money. Look, once I think people heard that, I know that Tyson Fury made over $10 million to appear. Once that sprinkles, you're like, damn, that doesn't sound too bad to kind of be that guy, to be that persona. I just don't think that Gronkowski's going to be just yet at 28, 29 a solid in-ring performer. It's going to take 2 years.
Yeah.
Personality, sure. I think as a hype talker, maybe they can do that. They just say, give him a mic and see what he does. Yeah. But see, the problem is, he's got to the fine line is he's got to morph into being a little bit believable in that, before when he came out.
He can't be so corny.
He can't be so corny because he come out and he's like amped up and doing it. What he's got to do is fine tune it and be serious, a little bit more McAfee, less Gronkowski. Yeah. Meaning you got to be glib, you got to be smart, but you can't be all animated and all weird because it comes off as being like, okay, this is Rob Gronkowski being a wrestler. Yeah. He's got to morph into a wrestler. Yep. And you can't just do that. So what he's got to do is, in the coming months, you got to go to NXT, you got to practice, and he can't, so show up at WrestleMania, but he better not be showing up on Raw and SmackDown. He better be showing up in NXT. That's where he needs to go and find a wrestler that he can hype up and things like that. Maybe take Mojo Rawley with him and handle his business down there. He's not a guy that I think can jump up right away and be Brock Lesnar. I just don't see it. No way, Jose.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
He needs training because look,
he needs a lot of training.
We talked about it. You can't just because you're a name that'll last for an appearance.
Yeah. So I think he'll be a draw for WrestleMania. I think he'll be what is talked about the day after WrestleMania.
Yeah. Which is what you need. Yep.
Yeah. But overall, long term for his career, if this is what he wants to do, he needs to go to NXT. Maybe needs to pair with his buddy Mojo Rawley, and they need to become a tag team. And then
the best is if they have all this investment, all this hype, and the government shuts down the world. The government's like, there is no WrestleMania. Florida says, we are not going to allow any publicly attended sporting event to take place. And Vince is like, no. I want to see that. He's like, we're going to sue. He'll be like, I want to sue for the entire money then. Pay me. Pay me not to run WrestleMania.
Vince is crazy enough to do it.
He could do it, right.
He's absolutely crazy enough to do it.
Bro, this coronavirus has been crazy in terms of how fast it spread. Yeah.
Good for you. Look at you.
This coronavirus has been crazy in that sporting events are happening without fans. I thought, okay, shutting down locker rooms, it's not going to affect me. I can always go into the Lions in August. This will be done by then. But, still can't go into the Tigers, can't go into the Pistons. All right, that's a little bit unusual. But to have events with no fans, part of me just thinks this is way overblown because you got doctors like Dr. Drew, Dr. Oz saying, look, man, wash your hands. This is not as bad as the real flu. That's been the prevailing notion. But it seems like people are freaking out and panicking at a level that is even higher than Zika, higher than H1N1. People are really freaking out around this coronavirus. And I'm just like, okay, well, up until Tuesday, no cases were in Michigan. Now we got 2. And you're seeing, obviously, the doubling effect, and you read all about it. For me, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to live my life. I'm going to be aware. I don't like to go to large groups anyway because of fear of getting, being a part of a mass shooting. But at the end of the day, look, you got to have faith. That's been my mantra for forever. Is you could be fearful of getting in a car. You could be fearful of, engaging in sexual activities, taking anything. Anytime you wake up,
fearful of those activities.
You shouldn't be.
Never.
No, I think that's why you and I are the most relaxed. We're podcasting with our feet up here. We're having fun. We're broadcasting, doing our work, 4 jobs each, and
putting
we're just
wieners and everything.
Exactly. Trying to figure out.
Exactly.
Exactly. You out in the open, me on the down low. So this coronavirus is not affecting me, but bro, what the fuck is going on here? Why is the world acting like this? Why are we freaking out to the point of there's Champions League games with no fans in Europe? The MAC conference is basically like, we're not going to open it up to fans. The Ivy
League shut it all down.
They said, you're not getting the extra bid. We're just going to take the champ and keep it moving. What the hell's going on here?
Look, I think a lot of this has to do with the media overblowing stuff. On top of it, I think there's a little bit of a stigma because it comes from China. There's always been this contentious relationship with China, and I think this just kind of heightens it and makes it worse. I don't think it helps that your president has a Twitter account, also struggles to spell the word coronavirus, and is constantly mass tweeting about it. I don't think any of that helps. And then you've got funding for a program like the CDC, which gets stripped and minimalized. So I think that also plays into heightened fears. And then you have your president come out and essentially nominate the vice president to take over a position from a guy who's been running stuff for a minute now. And your vice president, I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, he's just kind of there. He's not real great. Go look at what he did when he was in Indiana. Wasn't fantastic. So, I'm not trying to spin this into something political here. I'm just pointing out facts and things that are going on. I also believe that it's new. So it's different. There's not necessarily a cure for this, right? There's not a vaccine for this. So with the flu, you have a vaccine. H1N1, they developed a vaccine, and they developed them pretty quickly. The swine flu or the bird flu. You remember when those came out? There was a ton of panic with those, and very quickly things were kind of resolved. It was legitimately, it felt like it was like 2 or 3 months. I feel like right now we're just kind of in the eye of the storm of this, and we don't have a vaccine, and it's just one of those things where I don't know. Realistically, I feel like this is essentially just the flu. It's nothing more. You've had the flu. You've been sick. When old people get the flu, they get sick. Sometimes they die because they have a weakened immune system. If you have a child who gets the flu, sometimes they die. I know that sounds harsh. I know it sounds cold. These are just facts.
Shit happens.
Exactly. This is kind of what it is. If you have a weakened immune system, take precautions.
Wash your hands. Yeah, just the precautions. Just go to the doctor, be healthy, and live your life. I just can't imagine that this is going to spread. And I had asked you, and I said, do you think that the country's going to shut down for a week? I don't see this happening for a month. Could you imagine a scenario where the country goes, shut down for a week, everyone stay at home, and ghost town, no one on the roads, nothing, just shut everything down?
They did it in cities in China, and I think all of Italy is basically the same right now.
Yeah.
It would be absolutely crazy if that happened.
Fuck that, we'd violate that and come here.
Right. We got to record.
He's right, we got to record. We'll find our back channel way to get here. Not out in the open, we'll figure out a way.
We'd have our own underground railroad.
We'd have to call and Skype and record and all that good stuff back from the old days.
That's right.
Dude, that'd be fun as hell.
The old days.
We'd have to kind of figure out, what we'll probably do is we'd do a Skype and video it and do both and be like, look, we're broadcasting still from the
Is Periscope still a thing?
Yeah, we could do that too.
Could we Periscope?
We could Periscope it, record it, all that good stuff. And it's wild stuff. And it's just, I haven't missed anything. I'm naturally introverted, and I don't go to like a large I don't go to events typically too much other than sporting events that have a lot of large people, like not in the concerts, stuff like that. I'm not into too much.
It's not going to really impact your life. Like,
Too much,
it's not going to impact mine either. Like, I'm still going to go live my life.
Yeah, you went to the Wings game, and as far as we know, you don't have coronavirus. I don't either.
Right.
Even though you're sticking things everywhere.
I mean, you just do what you do, man.
Exactly. So I see here you definitely have potentially maybe even missed an event that maybe was unforeseen or something happened that you had some plans and you're broadening it out. And I think it's very good because I think a lot of people actually are freaked out and are limiting themselves. I like the word self-quarantine. People are like, I'm just going to not go anywhere. And I think that's fair. I think the one thing that people do that is the most challenging is that they come to work sick because of lack of insurance or they need the money. Look, just stay home. Your $80 workday is not worth everybody getting sick. If you're broke, stay broke. It's okay. You know what I mean? Just ride it out and be broke for another day. You know, the $80 is not going to help anybody else, especially if you're going to spread viruses and things like that. Just stay home. Look, let's be lazier for at least a couple months until this all passes. But has anything happened unforeseen where you were excited to go maybe to a concert or you had a hot date and you were ready to go to a Wings game and something unforeseen happened and you just weren't able to go?
So I have two actually. One where I had a vacation that happened and I didn't even realize that they were going to overlap and interfere.
With?
I was invited to go to the 2014 Winter Classic when it was, I think it was the Red Wings versus the Maple Leafs.
Yes.
So I was geared up to go to that, and I had plans to go to that. I had accidentally scheduled a trip to Brazil at that same exact time.
Yes.
And that screwed everything up. So I totally couldn't go, and I was bummed about that. Another time, I had drank a little too much the night before, and I think I ate something bad. So I had like food poisoning, and I had like the worst hangover ever. So it was coming out of both ends. And I had tickets to go to a Lions game. And I had to self-quarantine. Basically, I had to trap myself in the bathroom while it all just came out of me. Yeah, and that was a mess.
Lucky for me, that has not happened too much. I've honored a lot of commitments. I actually have the tickets here in the office where I keep a lot of the stubs and stuff like that. Have I missed anything in terms of, no. But recently, the funny thing happened was my wife bought tickets to a comedy event, and she actually booked it for the wrong day that we had planned. So she had to call the venue and be like, oh my God, I'm sorry. And you know what she was going to try to do? You know, it's funny here real fast. She was actually going to, if it wasn't going to work out where she could switch the tickets from a Saturday to a Friday, she was going to go undercover behind the scenes and just buy the tickets again and not tell me. I was like, no, you would not have, because I invited my sister and my brother-in-law. I'm like, you would have paid double? And she's like, yeah, because I freaked out and I didn't know what to do. I'm like, that would have been the worst option. Look, we would have figured out a way to go Saturday. That's fine. Don't do that. Women, sneaky, always.
They're sneaky.
They're sneaky.
You gotta watch them.
She would have, I was like, well, how do you buy the wrong day? You know, you get older and you just start to forget what day it is, and matching up day and time of an event became a challenge for my wife. So I was like, oh my God, thank God that didn't happen.
I mean, at least she told you, right?
At least she told me, yeah, because luckily the venue was nice and accommodating and good stuff though. You know what I mean? I think that for us, we're going to continue, we're going to keep broadcasting, keep spending our hours podcasting, laughing at the Lions and, you know, figuring out what the heck's going on. Congrats to the Wings, officially the worst team in the NFL.
Officially the worst team.
Officially the worst team in the NHL. So it's good for them. It's been a bad season for Pistons and Wings, and they're in the midst of a rebuild. Tigers, interesting. We'll peek into their spring training in a couple weeks here.
Miguel looks lean.
Miguel looks lean
all the way up to the All-Star break, and then he starts eating hot dogs like they're going out of style.
Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ, corona-free. As we sit here today, that could change at any moment. Could change probably in the next 20 minutes.
Right now, I'm virus-free.
Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Thank you guys for your support. We love when you include us in the list that you create of good podcasts that you enjoy. I believe Our is creating the best of list, and someone messaged and said, hey, when are you guys going to have a best local podcast? And they included several and included us. That means a lot. I appreciate that you guys keep us in the mix. You know that we've been broadcasting now for 6 years. And when you have an opportunity, if you want to relive, you know, bad draft picks from the Lions or all the happenings all the way back to when Brad Ausmus was the manager of the Tigers, go to YouTube and just relive some of the old podcasts. We have all the descriptions. It's fun, and you can relive all the rants and all the wild-ass shit that we did 6 years ago, starting in 2013, September. We let it rip from then, and that 2013 Tiger season was when we kicked off. The Lions under Jim Schwartz. Man, that was some fun podcasting. Just when people message us, we get to relive some of those. Go back there, YouTube, type in Detroit Sports Podcast, relive some of the old ones going on from like Doc and Jock 29, 100, 150. There's some wild stuff. It's all documented, all archived for Detroit Sports, all you fans out there that support us. It's fun. I think it's fun every now and then. And one last thing, if you enjoy this podcast, all we ask is just tell one other person, hey, those guys are hardcore. They broadcast every single week, come hell or high water. Every Thursday, Doc and Jock, come hell or high water, we put it out there. And just tell one or two other people, and that's how we keep growing this virus, this real virus that actually caused some real noise. For Adam the Jock Strozinski, I'm the Doc, John Macaroon, spreading the DSP virus since 2013. Out.
This was locker room talk.
Second dick.
Sorry, Detroit. Didn't quite work out.
And all I can say is Detroit Sports Podcast scores.
I hear voices in my head. They counsel me. They understand. They talk to me.